All right, everybody, welcome back. I am so ready to do this manicure with my VIPs January from Sparkle & Co. So these are colors that are going to be released in February. So you can see the colors here. These top two are the dip colors. Love is in the Air and Miss Flirty. And then I've got Love Struck and Unrequited Love in the gel that will be added to the main line at Sparkle & Co. I am so excited to create a manicure with these. I love pink just in general. I love glitter, you guys know that. And I love Sparkle & Co. So I'm excited to use these colors. I actually grabbed out also because I want to bling it up a little bit. So I've got some, these are from Young Nails. I've got two different Mylar colors. I think this one's called Raspberry. Yeah, Raspberry Icy, and this one's called Peace Peace. And so those are again from Young Nails. And then I also have these silver foil pieces, which I love to use. So I'm gonna kind of just go through and create something. I really want to add some extra dimension with these items into these colors. So I just went ahead and grabbed those. So the first thing I'm gonna do is start with my accent nail, which I'm gonna do my ring finger here, and I'm gonna use this darker gel polish, the Unrequited Love color. This Mani is, I mean, look at these colors. They're sparkly and light. So I want this to just kind of be a little accent, a little something to give it some balance. So I'm going to just go ahead and put this on, and this just has the most beautiful pink shimmers to it. If you can't see them, I'll pull it up to the light closer in just a second. So we're definitely going to do at least 2 coats of this color. It is black, so it's not going to take too much because it's pretty dark, but the glitter on these, I hope you can see that. It's just so beautiful. So I'm going to go ahead and pop that in a light. I'll be right back. All right, so I've got just a quick 30-second cure on there. I'm going to go ahead and just add a second coat just so we have really good coverage. I'm taking this all the way as close to the cuticle as I can get without actually touching it. I'm going to leave just, you know, a millimeter of space there so that we're not touching that gel to the skin. So pretty. All right, let's pop that in the light for a 60-second cure. All right, so the next thing we're gonna do is kind of an experiment. You guys know I like to experiment. I do love how beautiful this Miss Flirty is. I'm gonna go ahead and put a layer of that down using the gel polish method. The regular resin system really bothers my allergies, so I tend to use gel as much as possible. I love using it. It gives you a little bit more time to make sure everything is just the way you want it. So I'm going to go ahead and put down a thin layer. I'm just pulling that so that it comes nice and thin. Thin layer of Sparkle & Co. gel base. And that's what I'm going to use to go ahead and apply my dip here. So I'm going to go ahead and just lay that right on top. I'm going to give it a few seconds just to start soaking into that gel. I'm going to pull it out and just give it a little tap. Pull off any of that excess. So that looks really good. This color is so pretty. It's just got this silver. It's a really fine silver glitter in there. It almost looks like diamonds, which if I know Christy at Sparkle & Co. is probably exactly what she was going for. It's just beautiful. So I'm gonna go ahead and give that a 60-second cure. I'm gonna go ahead and just brush off any excess that didn't adhere. Look at that, and that's great coverage too. Don't even need another coat. All right, so because this manicure is just light and sparkly and beautiful, I don't want to put too much dark in it. And I love this Love Struck color, but I want these two dip colors to kind of be the main focus. So because of that, I'm gonna go ahead and marble in some of this darker pink Love Struck color. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab my Sparkle & Co. gel top here. So this is a no wipe top coat, and I'm going to go ahead and just put a coat of this over top of my beautiful Miss Flirty color. Okay, so we can get a nice, gosh, look at how that sparkles with that top coat. Oh my gosh, it's so pretty. Look at that. All right, I'll just give this a little wipe, make sure there's no glitter going back in my bottle there. And I'm gonna go ahead and give this a 60-second cure. All right, so what I'm gonna do for this is you can use either alcohol or like a 99, well, higher, at least 90% alcohol to do this. I'm going to go ahead and use some of the Young Nails Swipe, which is their cleanser. You can pretty much use any nail cleanser, or like I said, just plain alcohol, as long as it's 90% or higher. And this is going to basically help us to get that marble effect that we want. So I am going to just real quickly do a little file on this side just to make it nice and smooth. Looks like it may have run to the side. And so since I have this top coat on here, that's kind of built a little bit of a protection, and we're gonna top coat this again. So I'm not really worried. It was kind of a little bit of a bump over here. I just wanted to smooth that out and make sure I keep that shape that I want, so I'm not losing any of that. All right, so what we're gonna do is, let me just go ahead and wipe this off so there's no dust on top. All right, and so you can see underneath, we're gonna get back a lot of that shine as soon as we put another top coat on that. So what we're gonna go ahead and do is we're gonna take our Love Struck color, and I'm just gonna kind of create a little bit of a marble sort of design. And you know, we're gonna pull this through, and what you'll need besides the alcohol is the a brush to do this, and it can really be any kind of brush that you want. You know, I don't want to put too much on here, but what we're going to do is we're going to take that alcohol and we'll use a brush. This is a Young Nails Imagination Art brush, and I'm just going to use that to kind of dab at my color here, so that it sort of starts to separate and marbles out. And this just kind of gives it a little bit finer of a look than globbing it on there, kind of how I had it when I put it on with just the brush. So just kind of give us a little bit of a color there. Beautiful. And so you can see as I'm doing this with the swipe, it's kind of leaving that the glitter behind, obviously, because the swipe can't do anything about that. But it is kind of dispersing that color and making a little bit of a lighter effect, so it's not so hardcore dark in there, which is exactly what I'm kind of looking for. Now, so I'm going to go ahead and give that just a quick cure, about 10 seconds. All right, and the next thing I want to do to highlight kind of some of that silver is use some of this silver foil. And so I'm going to go ahead and put a layer of gel base coat on here, just a nice thin layer, something just to stick and adhere that to. So just grab a little piece, and this foil is, it's, you know, it's very light and it'll come apart really easily. It's almost like sort of like tissue paper, but I want small pieces because I want to lay this exactly how I want it to look. So I'm just kind of using my nails here to pull those apart. So I'm just going to go ahead and pick one up. Oops. And you can see I'm just going to push it down into that base coat, and I'm just going to kind of create whatever pattern it is that I am looking for. Put a little piece here. And so this is going to sink right into that base coat, which gives us a really cool effect. Okay, so once I have that looking how I want it, push this to the side a little bit because I want that darker pink that I put in here to kind of show through a little bit more. And you can just kind of keep moving this around until you get it exactly where you want it. Actually, I think move this over here a little bit more, so it's not so concentrated in the center. And again, I'm kind of just experimenting with this. I want that base color behind to show through. I want to show some of that darker pink color, the Love Struck that we put on here. All right, so that is good. I like the way that looks. So I'm gonna go ahead and cure that for 60 seconds. So again, this is in a gel base coat. So you can see if I turn my nail this way that some of these pieces are sort of sticking up. But that's okay, I'm not really worried about that because what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go over it with another layer of base coat just to kind of encapsulate any of those little pieces. And then I'm gonna take off the sticky layer and give it a file before I put on the top coat. And this is just gonna get rid of any of those edges that are kind of sitting up, peeking out so that my nail is completely smooth. So we'll go ahead and give that a cure. All right, so we've had a 60-second cure. I'm just gonna take a lint-free wipe and some of that cleanser, and I'm gonna pull off that top dispersion layer of the base coat. We're gonna go back over top of this after with the top coat, so I'm not too worried about this taking off the dispersion layer. But what I want to do with that is first I'm gonna go ahead and clean up the sides here, make sure that I have the shape that I had before that I'm looking for. So those are looking good. And then I'm just gonna go kind of over the top. And again, this is just to get any of those edges that might be sticking up. The foils, like I said, they're very soft, so I don't think it would really cause a problem, but I am one of those people that having like texture and bumps on my nails kind of bothers me. So I'm just gonna give this a light file. This is a 150 grit file over the top till it's completely smooth. I'm gonna go ahead and take my lint-free wipe again with that cleanser and brush off any dust off of there, and then we'll go ahead and give that a top coat. So you can see it looks dull, but don't worry because we put the base coat in between so we didn't file through. And that's gonna allow, once we put this top coat on, see that brilliance and that shine and sparkle comes right back. So we are not at all worried about that. I often do this when I'm doing my nails. You know, I have lately, like I said, started using, you know, acrylic and gel on my nails to create them instead of using tips like I did before. But you know, tips are fine, whatever way you need to do it, you can, but I often use the base and top coat to do these perfecting things. I can put a layer of base coat or top coat on and file over it to change the texture. If I want to change the shape or make sure that the shape hasn't lost, you know, sometimes when you are using the gel to put on the dip powder, it can kind of start to run because the gel doesn't freeze. It's one of the things I like about it, but it's also one of the things you have to be aware of. So like I did before, I kind of had a little bit of a bump over here. I filed that out with the over the top coat. So the top coat creates a layer that I'm not going into that design that I've created. I'm going to give this a 60-second cure and I'll show you when we're done. Okay, so we are all cured out there. Clean this off. Okay. All right, I'm gonna have to top coat that because I think I didn't. So let me go ahead and take care of that real quickly. Wow, look at that glitter. I mean, it's just a fine, beautiful silver shimmer in there. Oh, that's gorgeous. So see, we've got our little marbled effect. You can see some of that darker pink coming through the foil where we put it. I'm gonna give that a quick cure. So now that those are all done, that no wipe top coat is great. I don't have to wipe any dispersion layer off there. Those are just ready to go. I'm gonna go ahead and move on to the thumb because I do wanna try something else out. I'm gonna go ahead and apply the solid pink, light pink, Love is in the Air. So I'm gonna go ahead and use the gel method again. I'm gonna put just a very thin coat on here of this base gel. And then I'm gonna go ahead and dip or lay my nail right across the top. All right, so that's there. Give that a little tap. That looks good. So I'm gonna go ahead and give that a cure. So I'm gonna go ahead and just brush off any excess that might be sitting on the top here. Okay. Looks nice and smooth. I'm gonna go ahead and do one more coat of that one, just so we give it a nice amount of color. So you can see I'm kind of wiping any excess off of my brush because I don't want to make this a very thick layer of base gel. Just enough that the dip powder has something to adhere to. So it did kind of slink down here last time too. Go ahead and avoid any more building up there by pulling that off. And then I'm gonna go ahead and flatten and give this another little dip. All right. And this looks like it has a really subtle shimmer to it, which I didn't notice before. First I thought I got maybe just a couple flakes of the other glitter on there. All right. Okay, see, so you can see we've got a little, I'm just gonna pat that so it's flat. All right, and give that a cure. All right, so again, I'm just gonna go ahead and give this kind of a brush. I'm just using, this is just an e.l.f. eye blending brush I bought. It was like $3 at Target. I use the e.l.f. brushes a lot for that kind of stuff. This is like a $6 brush. I'll use that sometimes as well, just to brush off any excess I may have. I've got a million brushes just laying around. Almost every time I'm at Target, I just throw a couple more into my cart. So I've always got some laying around. So what I want to try and do is I'm going to try and do a little bit of a reverse ombre with this Love Struck color. And if this works, I'm going to end up probably putting it on my pinky as well, because I really want to bring in some more of this darker pink color. So I made sure that I dusted that top of this really well so that there's no powder left on here, because I don't want that to come in and cake up and mess up my my gel polish here. So I'm just kind of pulling that through kind of to where I want it, and then I'm gonna go back and get some more because I want to make it darker on the bottom and then just kind of lightly pull that color up through here so it creates a sort of ombre. So I'm going to clean off my brush so I can just give that a little pull. Make sure the darker part stays here. And then what I'm going to do on top of that, see, I'm just really lightly pulling it all the way up my nail to create kind of a ombre sort of here. It comes all the way up. And I don't have very much gel on my brush right now because I wiped it all off, but that's going to help me keep the dark here, and then it gets lighter as it gets to the top. What I'm going to do in addition to this is add some of this Mylar that I was talking to you about. So I'm going to get the, I love the Mylars from Young Nails. You can see the piece is really small, and that's kind of a new thing that they're doing. They've made the Mylar pieces a little bit smaller, just so they're a little bit easier to work with, because what I do usually have to do is take them and kind of cut them up a little bit so that they're in smaller pieces, because I don't need giant chunks most of the time. This is kind of an accent. I'm using this to kind of just accent and add some more depth and dimension to this manicure. So you can see I've got that. I'll bring out some more of this piece here. And I really just want to pick this up and I'm going to put it down right onto this layer before I cure it. So this is just gel polish. It has not been cured yet. So I'm basically going to just cure this right into that layer. So that piece is a little bit big. So because, you know, this whole encapsulation process is usually used in like acrylic and gel mediums, and that's because you can then cap it over with clear. Because we don't have a thick layer that we're going to be putting over top of this, we need to find pieces that are relatively flat and are going to just lie right into that gel and not be sticking up or super chunky, because we don't have any space to add a bunch of layers of clear. If we did that, we would make this nail super bulky. All right. Not sure if this guy's gonna stay. He may not want to. All right. And then we're going to do the same thing we did before, where I'm going to go ahead and put a layer of base. I am going to do this one a little bit thicker than before because I kind of want to float it on here. If I use this and pull, it's going to disrupt everything I've laid down already. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this through here, just so we're getting kind of some coverage on there. And then I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna give this a 90-second cure just because I wanna be extra sure that it sets all the way through. All right, so I did give that a longer 90-second cure so that I could get it cure all the way through. I'm gonna go ahead and wipe off that dispersion layer because we do have those little pieces of Mylar that are sticking up, and we wanna go ahead and file that off. So I don't have to do really much work with the shape. I'm just trying to get rid of these little pieces that are sticking up here, if you can see those. So that's all I'm trying to get rid of. So I'm just going to go ahead and give it a quick file right across the top, anywhere that I've got those Mylars sticking up. And again, this is not going to change the shape of my nail. I'm just doing a really light file over the top. This is a 150 grit file, so nothing too crazy. And I don't want to go too far down because I don't want to mess up the color, obviously. Okay, so once we've got that all done, I'm gonna go ahead and wipe it and double check and make sure it looks the way I want it to. Now again, it looks a little bit you know, dingy here because we filed over top, but as soon as we put that top coat on, that's all gonna come back. Do want to make sure I keep my shape, so I'm just going to file this edge here again, make sure we keep that shape nice and sharp. All right, and then we are ready for that top coat. Top coat is always the favorite, right? It's the best, watching the top coat reveal. All right, here it comes. Now see how much extra depth and dimension that has added. And we really didn't add all that much. It's just giving it that little bit of extra sparkle. And you can do this at home with just this. You don't need acrylic or hard gel to encapsulate. You just have to be very aware with what you're working with. You have to know why the dispersion layer is there, when it needs to be removed, when you can go over that, how much gel you need to keep that shape you're looking for without disrupting your apex or anything else that you need to build to make the nail look correct. And be strong, because that's really the whole point of it. So you can see we've got just a really beautiful dimension in that. And again, we didn't fully encapsulate it. It's not all the way at my natural nail and then I built on top of it, but we're still able to get some extra depth and dimension in there by encapsulating those pieces. So we'll give that a 60-second cure. Be right back. So I am actually going to go ahead and keep these to just the plain Miss Flirty color. Just to break it up, you know, I don't want to do too much. I want the elements that we have put together, you know, this marbled nail with the foils in it, and then our encapsulated mylars. I want those to stand out. I definitely don't want to make every single nail a showpiece. You know, you can do that if you want, but for me, I'm gonna go ahead and put just this color on its own. I mean, this color is so gorgeous on its own anyway that, I mean, you really can't go wrong with it. So I'm gonna go ahead and, again, that was just a coat of gel base, nice and thin. I'm gonna put this in here, let it sit for just a few seconds, give it a little tap, and then we'll go ahead and do this one, and then we'll cure them both. And also time-wise, because this is turning out to be a longer video than I had planned. But, you know, I like to show you guys kind of my thought process when I'm going through, let's try this. This is an experiment. You know, I like to experiment a lot. But, you know, I've learned a lot from it. And sometimes things don't work out. Sometimes they do. This worked. I like it. Other times it's not been so favorable. So we'll go ahead and give this a dip after a nice thin coat of that base gel. Give it a little tap to pull off any excess. Make sure we correct anything we can correct before we cure it. So this is a little too close, so I'm gonna put my nail through there so that it's not right on my skin. Press it back. And again, we can always use that base coat trick that I showed you, or top coat trick, where you put the top coat on, give it a little file. That'll help set everything straight. So let's give this a quick cure. All right, so those have 60 seconds cure. We're gonna go ahead and give them a little dust off here. Looks good. And then I'm gonna go ahead and go through and give everything a quick top coat. This is just, it looks like little diamonds in there, honestly. It's so pretty. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and, if I can find a clean paper towel space, I do like to wipe off any any of my brushes before I put them back into the bottle, especially when I'm working with glitter, because otherwise it's just everywhere. I mean, it still gets everywhere, but it at least helps. And a little fuzzy here. Off. And I ended up actually buying the large refill on Sparkle & Co. for the base and top coat, because I use it so much. I use it on myself a lot. You guys see in my videos all the time. And also I use it at the salon all the time, because it's just such a great soft gel top coat. And it's no wipe, which is like the best ever. So this one does look like it's a little bit misshaped. So I'm probably gonna end up going over and filing that one, and that's all good. So let me give this a little wipe here. Go ahead and cure those 60 seconds. This is the no wipe top coat we're working with. I'm just gonna file this because it's not quite as smooth as I would like it to be. So I'm just gonna give it a quick file across the top. Fix any, the side walls just not straight here. Sorry, I'm trying to hold it so you guys can see what I'm doing. Just make sure it's nice and smooth, and then we'll go ahead and re-top coat all the way around. Make sure the cuticle is flush. Okay. All right. Go ahead and take a lint-free wipe and some cleanser. Clean that off to get all the dust off. Yeah, that looks better. Perfect. All right, I am going to put a top coat on this real quick. I'm gonna go ahead and clean up, and then I will be back to show you the final look.